Hello and welcome to It Could Have Been One Book, where I tell you about a series that could have been one book. I read The Hawthorne Legacy. I think I read the first book like beginning of last year or something. I don't know. I read it a while ago and I loved it. It was great. It's like very Knives Out, very Clue, very cool, very fun. And then I read the second book like 2 weeks ago and it was really bad. Then it literally took all of my strength to read the third book. And I gotta tell you guys, it could have been one book. It could have been one book. But yeah, okay, let me tell you about these books. So the first one is about this girl. Her name is Avery Kylie Grams. That is important to know that her full name is Avery Kylie Grams. And she's poor and she lives with her sister and they don't have a lot of money, but she's super smart. She's really good at chess. She plays chess in the park with this homeless dude named Henry all the time. And like, she's just your average girl with her average life, you know? She's chillin'. And then all of a sudden, she's summoned to this billionaire's house because apparently she was left something in the will. And what she was left was his entire inheritance, all of his money, and literally the rest of the family gets like nothing. Which, very Knives Out, very fun for her. So the conditions of it is she inherits all of the money, but she has to stay in Hawthorne House for 1 year. And if she doesn't stay in Hawthorne House for a year, then she loses it and it gets like donated. Very like, you know, Clue and Knives Out-y because Tobias Hawthorne like has a huge mansion that has like secret passageways everywhere and clues and riddles everywhere. So it's basically her working with the Hawthorne boys to figure out why she was left this inheritance because they're all like, it has to mean something, right? And there's like a love triangle between her and two Hawthorne boys, Grayson and Jackson. Grayson is like very reserved and very analytical, and Jackson is like, yeehaw, we're here for a good time, not a long time. I loved the first book. I read it, I think I gave it like 4 or 5 stars. It was so much fun. It was light, it was good, it was a good time all around. I listened to the second book on audio. I also watched Read with Cindy's video where she said that this was one of the worst books that she had read this year. So I was like already going into it being like, this might be a bad time. And I think if I had not listened to it, like opposite of Belladonna, if I had read Belladonna instead of listening to it, I would have rated it lower. But because I listened to the Hawthorne Legacy, I rated it lower because this woman, for one, I just did not like her narration, and for two, she would not let me forget that these boys were Southern. She would not let me forget that this takes place in Texas. Literally every 2 minutes she would be like, and then Jackson Hawthorne was like, well, howdy, wah, 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 wah. And I was like, good God, oh, it was painful. It was painful. But basically, the first book ends with us finding out that the son who died, that was like Toby's favorite, who was also named Toby, that was Tobias Hawthorne's favorite, is actually Henry, the homeless dude that she plays chess with in the park. Wowie wow wow. Incredible. So the second book starts and it's basically like, oh, we gotta find Toby. That's like the main plot. I think if that had just been the plot, I would have been like, okay, sure, we're vibing, it's fine. Except, my God, this love triangle did not stop. It was obnoxious. I don't really like love triangles to begin with. I actually don't believe love triangles should last more than one book, ever. Because after that point, it's like, just fucking pick someone. And like, she was like, Jackson, it's Jackson. I'm gonna choose Jackson. And then she'll be like, I never felt this way about another person. Jackson is just so wonderful. He makes me so happy. And then she would have like one scene with Grayson and she'd be like, he was so vulnerable with me. I can't imagine, like, wow, like maybe we are in love. And I was just tired. I just did. Like, the entire book was just, every other scene would be like, oh, well, I love Jackson. Oh, well, maybe I love Grayson. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I liked Grayson more. I don't know, I was on Team Grayson, even though I feel like it's dumb to be like on teams. It's like bringing back 2010 where it was like Team PETA or Team Edward or Team Jacob and all of that. Anyway, Regardless, I liked Grayson more, but it's fine. So the second book, they're just trying to find Toby, and then also every 2 minutes, Avery is fighting over someone. We realize that her name is an anagram for a very risky gamble, which is what Tobias Hawthorne did when he gave her all of the inheritance. That's cool. Toby is technically her dad. And we also find out that Toby was adopted by the Hawthornes. Yeah, okay, they're not related. They can go continue having their love triangle. However, I hate when like any book series or movie series is like, well, they're not related technically. Like, don't put technicallys in it, just don't write it into the script or the book. Just don't, you know? Like, I don't want to be like, well, they are kind of related, and they are kind of in like a love triangle. Just like, don't write that. I hate that. That's gross. Now she shouldn't be with either of them. So in the second book, right, they're trying to find Toby. Toby died in a fire on the Hawthorne Island that killed a whole bunch of people, but he didn't actually die. And so one of the people whose like family members died on that island like kidnaps Avery to hold her hostage to lure Toby out. And so Toby comes and he saves her. And she's like, hey, now that I know you're my dad, like, let's be chill. And he's like, no, I gotta stay hidden for the safety of you. And then he like dips forever, okay? All right. That's the second book. On to the third book. Tobias is also, we're trying out standing because I feel like I'm a better storyteller when I stand. Who's to say? Maybe I'm a more chaotic storyteller when I stand. It's a journey. Anyway, third book starts. We're starting to get letters and like little magazine clipping like things being like, if you want your Toby, you've got to solve these riddles in 24 hours. And then we meet this girl named Eve, who is apparently Tobias's daughter. And Grayson is like, Eve has done nothing wrong in her entire life and she will continue to do nothing wrong. And Avery has decided to fully be with Jackson, but every 2 minutes, he's like, well, you still love Grayson, don't you? And she's like, yeah, I do still love Grayson, but I chose you. And I'm like, I thought that the love triangle would end when she chose someone. How silly of me to realize that it's gonna keep going. But regardless, this girl Eve shows up and she looks exactly like this girl Emily that Grayson and Jackson were both in love with, and then she died. So Grayson is like, oh yeah, I know this isn't Emily, however I am gonna protect her as if she was Emily. And Eve just appears and is like, I'm just here, you know, I've done nothing wrong my whole life. And so they're all trying to figure out who is sending these menacing letters and who is keeping Tobias captive. And they go through they go deep into all of the things that Tobias Hawthorne has ever done. And they realize, maybe being a billionaire be bad? You know? They're like going through all these files and they see that they're like, he's laying off people all the time and like stealing patents and like doing all that. And they're like, maybe be billionaire bad? We always thought that he was such a great guy, but maybe having that much wealth is not good. Something to ponder. And then we find out that Eve is actually working with the dude who kidnapped Toby. And then Avery figures out who kidnapped Toby and she goes to save Toby. And he's like, aha, now that you've figured it out, if you want your precious daddy back, you've gotta beat him in a game of chess. Hee. So there's like a whole chess battle at the end. Yeah, she gets back. She's like, I'm gonna give away all of this money in 5 years. Ha. And that's basically how the book ends. So that's the books. That's all 3 of them. It could have been 1 book. Hear me out, it could have been 1 book. Cause listen, the first book was very strong, and then it really towards the end of it, I was like, why, what's happening? And then the second book happened and I was like, why did this need to happen? And then the third book happened and I was like, this is very cartoon villainy. We ran out of ideas. Literally being like, you must beat all 3 chess games in order to get back your father. It's like, okay. Well, now I feel like we're just watching a children's show, you know? Yeah. And the whole love triangle that lasted for 3 books really wasn't having it. The grand reveal that Eve is actually evil this whole time was just again, very cartoon villainy. It didn't need to... I didn't really like it. I liked the first book, I didn't really like the second book, and the third book was like a bit better, but overall it wasn't that great. And I think I also would have liked it more had I not been listening to the audiobook, but the audiobook was just so annoying for me. I just could not get with her voice. That being said, if I were to make it one book, what would I do? And the answer is I would just cut it off at the first book. I would have never even made the next two books. But let's say, for consistency's sake, because I usually try and like make a little scrapbook adventure of where all of the books should blend together. Let's say, for consistency's sake, I do make all of the books into one book. I would say take 90% of the book from the Hawthorne Legacy and then the last 10% of the book from the Final Gambit, right? So let's take them going on a journey to figure out why Avery inherited all this money. And then instead of the third book being like who is out to get Avery in this Evel Knievel plan, we just have her continuing to find out why she was left this money, and we find out that Tobias Hawthorne, being a billionaire, kind of is bad and he did a lot of bad things. And then we get Avery at the end still giving away all of the money, right? Like, that would be nice. I feel like had her solve the riddle of why she was there and realize that she was there because Tobias Hawthorne realized that hoarding billions of dollars is not good, and that maybe he should do something better with the end of his life and give it away to a very risky gamble. And the very risky gamble, Avery, decides to give it away. I think that would have been good. Get rid of the love triangle or make the love triangle last like a third of the length. You know? Maybe just get rid of the love triangle. Or if you don't get rid of the love triangle, if you're not going to get rid of the love triangle, leave Tobias out of it. I think that, like, yeah, I think she originally only wanted to make either one or two books, and then, like, they were like, no, you have to make a trilogy. But, like, it could have been one book, and I think it would have been a very good book. If it had been one book, I think it would have been stunning, okay? Where she's trying to solve all of the riddles of the Hawthorne house, and she finds out that being billionaire bad and gives away all of the money at the end. And then there's like, maybe like a little bit of a love triangle, or maybe she just decides that she like can be independent. I want some more independent women. Like, it would have just been fun if she had been like, oh, and the Hawthorne boys are very cool homies. They're very fun friends, you know? Like, why does she have to be in love with one of them when she could just be homies with all of them? I think that would have been more fun, if you were asking me. That's my hot take. It could have been one book, and it should have been one book, and yet it was three. And I think the annoying thing with the It Could Have Been One Book series is I have to read all three of them in order to produce one video, and they're always not good, you know? Like, the second book really dragged. It really, really dragged. And then the third book was like, we're trying to make up for it, but they didn't really. That's it, that's what I've got. It could have been one book. It's a short video, I guess. It's a short video. That's what I got. Could have been one book. Would love to hear people's thoughts on it, because I know some people really enjoyed this series as like a series, but I just feel like, I don't know, the first book was so strong, and the rest just really lacked, and I wish I knew why they lacked so deeply. That's what I've got for you all. Yeah, I'm kind of in a reading slump right now, so definitely looking for suggestions on books to read. The Stolen Heir is coming out in 2 months, so prepare for an in-depth analysis on the first books and my predictions and thoughts on what's going to happen in the Stolen Heir. Because I know it's a different story, and I know June and Carden aren't going to be in it, but this is my favorite series ever, and I just want to talk about it. So, yeah. I will be seeing Holly Black. I'm so excited. And that's what I've got for you all today. So, yeah. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace, peace.